Hello, my friends, and happy Thursday. What a beautiful summer day we had today. Did you watch butterflies? Did you watch birds? Well, guess what? Today we are making butterfly feeders, and possibly it will work for some of our birds as well. As we are trying to support the butterfly populations, we're all excited about how do we do it? How do we do it best? Obviously, they do find their own food, but occasionally it's nice to supplement the pollen with a little fruit as well. And they really do appreciate those little butterfly treats. And one of our friends, and I'm just going to say it was Katie. And so when, you know how I always ask for suggestions. So Katie, thank you so much for suggesting this project. You sent me an email and it was all about the banana butterfly feeder. I looked into it. As it turns out, it is so popular. There's so many different versions of the banana butterfly feeders out there. So I took it, made it my own, and kind of ran with it and said, you know what? As long as we're making one for bananas, can we make one for oranges as well? Because not only do butterflies like oranges, but who knows, maybe our little Oriole friends will appreciate it too, because they like oranges also. So here we go. This is what we are making today. And yes, we are making 2 feeders. One is for bananas, and I do have a banana right here. So this is how it fits into our feeder. And my banana, the actual fruit, is a little bit on the smaller side. So I made it so that you can feed, so that you can fit, rather, a slightly smaller banana or a larger banana. You know what they say, it's not the size that matters. And okay, bad joke. You can roll your eyes, that's fine. And I'm just going to go ahead and peel back the banana a little bit. And yes, I'm using my wire cutters for this because guess what? They work for so many things, including peeling a banana.
Fonda says, good evening, everyone. Happy Thursday.
Hi, Fonda, and happy Thursday to you, my friend.
Jolene says hello.
And hello, Jolene.
Karen says, good evening.
Hi, Karen. Good evening.
Trudy says hello, everyone.
Hello, Trudy. So what do you guys think? Does this look really appetizing? I mean, if you were a butterfly, would you not want to eat this banana? I would. And what kind of a butterfly would you be if you were one? Go ahead and put it in the comments. Be creative. Would you be a monarch or would you be a different kind of butterfly? Anyway, so this is my one feeder. And the other feeder, I'm just going to leave my banana right here. And I will show you the other feeder, which will also double as an Oriole feeder. And you know what? I have not had a chance to test these yet. So we have a little spike right there, which we will be making. So you can see the spike, and the spike is going to hold on to our orange slice, just like that. And of course, our butterflies and our Orioles like color. They like reds, they like pinks. Hence, the beads are in shades of kind of a pinky red. And so, yeah, I was just saying to Tony that sometime after the video, I really want to put both of these on our deck and see just how well this works. And I want to see who comes and partakes. I know we have a lot of Orioles. We see them every day because we do feed them. But I would love to see butterflies, and who knows? Who knows who's coming to our feeder? So what do you guys think? Is this kind of a fun thing? This is definitely one of my quirkier projects. But, you know, we have been making jewelry for a long time. Every once in a while, it's kind of fun to step away from our jewelry projects and do something a little different. And so you will be making both feeders in the same kit. There's enough for both. And we are about to get started. What do you think? We're ready to get started, right? Okay, guys, so I'm going to take the orange. Actually, no, let's start with the banana feeder. I think that's a slightly easier one to get started with. So we will do that. So I have my 14 gauge wire. And yes, this is a heavier gauge wire, but it's very easy to work with because it is dead soft. And what I want you to know is that we kind of goofed a little bit. I forgot to include something, but then we fixed it. So what you have to know is that there are 2 segments of wire. Normally you would have gotten just 1 segment and cut it yourself. But your 14 gauge wire is already pre-cut. The 3.5 foot wire is for the banana, and the remaining 5 foot segment of 14 gauge wire is for the flower or the orange butterfly feeder.
Katie says, hi all. I had trouble getting to the live video.
Hi, Katie. Oh, this is not Katie. You guys, thank you so much, Katie. We owe this video, this idea, to you. So I would love to just say a special thank you for making the suggestion. And ta-da! So, do you recognize this? This is actually your idea. And I love it. I love it. I looked into it, and butterflies do like bananas. And this is such a great way to do it. So thank you so much for this lovely idea. And let's make one.
Sharon says, hello, Irina, Tony, and all.
Hi, Sharon, and thanks for joining us today. So this is kind of a fun video. I mean, of course, they're all fun, but this is just a little extra quirky, a little extra fun. And we're going to get going on our butterfly feeder. We're going to start right here at the bottom, and we're going to start by making the spiral. So I have my 14 gauge wire, and now remember, you're going to get 2 segments of 14 gauge wire, and the shorter of the 2 is going to be for the banana feeder. And obviously that leaves the longer segment for the orange feeder. And I'm using my bail making pliers. You can use the larger side or the smaller side, or you can even do this with your round nose pliers. And I'm starting a loop, and we want this to be a nice round spiral. So I'm going to cut off the very end of the loop. So essentially everything that is not rounded has to go away. So let's cut that off. Always put your hand over the wire you're cutting so that you don't shoot it across the room. And now we're going to get going on the spiral itself.
Katie says, blush. When I saw the photos, I thought it might be a fun wire project.
Oh, yay! Thank you so much, Katie, for thinking of me when you saw it. Okay, guys. So this is how we start start the spiral. And thank you for thinking of me, Katie, but really thank you for thinking of all of us as well as the butterflies. I always appreciate your suggestions, but this is an extra special one, I think, because this actually not only is super entertaining for us to do, but also it helps a beautiful little critter that we are trying to help out. So that's like an extra good feeling. So you can see how I'm using my flat nose pliers to not only bend the wire in the spiral pattern, but I'm rocking it back and forth a little bit like this. This really helps me move the wire as well as control it. So once I get to, maybe the size of a quarter, as you can see, I'm going to grab my chain nose pliers and I'm going to kind of stretch out the spiral so that it forms a little cone. So this is the cone that I am forming. This is just kind of the start of the cone. And so, did I have another banana here? No, I don't. Well, that's okay. We have this banana. Let's take it out. And obviously, one end of the banana is just going to kind of fit into this cone. So the next thing we're going to do is just grab a round object. I'm sure you have lots. Maybe you have some olive oil in a skinny bottle. Maybe you have some kind of a salad dressing. Maybe you have, well, this is what I have, you guys. I have butane. It's just something that was at my fingertips. And I am going to keep building this spiral. This time, actually, you know what? Maybe I'll make it just a little bit larger. And this wire is so compliant. You can try different strategies as far as bending it. You can make little tiny bends just with your flat nose pliers. I could have made this spiral a little bit larger in its flat form, but you know what? There's so many different ways to make this work. So now I'm ready to just wind the wire around my can of butane.
Kim K says, happy Thursday, everyone, and sends flowers.
Hi, Kim. Oh, you are so sweet. Thank you so much for the flowers. So you can even use your fingers to kind of tweak this a little bit. And speaking of the flowers, oh my gosh, every time I drive through my neighborhood, something else is in bloom. Right now it's peonies, and oh my gosh, there's so many beautiful roses that are in bloom. This is just such a gorgeous time of the year. So you can see I can really shape or maybe reshape the wire with my fingers if I need to, make it a little skinnier, making it a little wider. And this is what it looks like. So my wire segment was actually just a bit shorter because, well, I'm using a remnant. But you can, so this was, I think, just under 3 feet of wire. But you can stretch it out, and your segment for this part of it is going to be 3.5 feet, which is right about what I used for my original sample, this guy right here. But this is going to work very nicely. And so once I get to this end, we are going to reshape this, the very end or the tail of the wire, again, using the bail making pliers. And I'm just going to make a couple of zigzags and then a loop at the end. And I'm sure every time you make this, it's going to look just a little bit different.
Katie says in the photos I saw, they just made a slit along one side of the banana, both ends closed. It might be a bit less messy than an open end.
Oh, that's a good way to do it, Katie. Thank you so much for mentioning that. But then again, maybe some of us want to get a little messy. You decide, you guys decide. That's a very good way to do it by making a slit. And then, of course, to mirror the shape of the banana, we can reshape this slightly, and ta-da! We have the banana part of our feeder. What do you guys think? So this was a really quick, well, it's not quite a project yet, but we're going to do a little more to make it into a finished piece. So not only are we making this for the butterflies to enjoy, but we're also making it so that it's aesthetically pleasing for us to enjoy. So we're going to set this part aside right there. And now we're going to focus on the decorative flower part. So let me show you this decorative flower right here. Okay, I'm reaching for this guy right here. So this is literally the same pattern, the same exact pattern as I have on my larger feeder, the one that's intended for the orange. So it's easier for me to show you on the smaller flower. And then we will only do a small part of the orange one just to show you the difference. So we are going to get started on making the flower for the top of the banana feeder.
Althea says, hi, late again.
Hi, Althea. That's okay. You are fine. We're just getting started.
Allie says, hi, Irina and Tony, cute fruit holder.
Yay, thank you so much, Ellie. Okay, ladies, so on this one I made a smaller center, and you know, oh yeah, I did grab my round nose. Yay, good times. Okay, so we are going to start the spiral again. And this time, because I don't want a very large opening in the spiral, I'm going to use my round nose pliers. So this time, ladies, we are using 16 gauge wire. You can probably tell the difference between this gauge, the 16 gauge wire, and the 14 gauge wire. Of course, 14 gauge wire being so much larger. And so again, I made a little loop to get myself started, and I will cut off the very end of the loop and just leave the round portion of the loop. So now, I don't know, maybe I need to cut off just a little bit more. So make sure you're cutting off everything that is not quite rounded. And once more, we're going to start the spiral just like that by holding with the round nose, and I start with making about a spiral and a half, or maybe a spiral and a quarter. And now we are again going to make that nice open spiral, and so this is the portion we're making. We're going to try to match it in size, and speaking of size, I'm going to tell you how wide it is. So it is about 30 millimeters across. Okay, so just this part of it is 30, the spiral part that is 30 millimeters across. And this is going to
take about 10 inches. And I don't know why I have this black mark, but that's okay. We can clean it up a little later. So, so we're making it about 30 millimeters across. And if you are spacing your spiral around the same, if you have around the same spacing as I do, it should take about 10 inches. It's just a little information just in case if you decide to make a whole bunch more on your own. Okay, so this is probably about it. So this is enough. And now I'm just going to bring this, the outer coil close to the inner coil, I guess. And so the goal here is to make a round. You know, it doesn't have to be a perfect round, but this is pretty circular. So I'm just going to commit to that. And just for fun, oh, I guess maybe I didn't grab, oh yes, I did. I did grab myself a little temporary wire. So just for fun, I'm including a little temporary wire, temporary holding wire that is in your kits. And you can use it or not use it. Not everybody likes using it. I don't always use it. I guess it all depends on if I am in the mood to use it or if I just want to take a shortcut. So here's how you would use it. You would simply connect the wire in the spot where you brought the outer coil closer to the next coil. And then all I'm going to do is just bend the rest of the wire a little bit outward. Okay, so we're just going to create a little bit of a bend. And so at this point, you can hammer this coil a little bit, or the spiral rather, a little bit, or we can skip the hammering. I do like the hammering because especially the 16 gauge wire this time is really on the softer side. The 14 is not quite as soft, but 16 gauge wire is a bit soft. So I'm going to hammer it a little bit. So here's a warning. Loud noise, you guys. If you're sensitive to noise, you may want to turn the sound down. Okay, so generally, I try to avoid hammering the temporary holding wire because, you know, it will leave a mark on our copper wire. But should it happen, not a big deal. I'm just going to do it just so you can see what happens. And also, we don't really care about the temporary wire as far as keeping it intact because, well, again, it's temporary. So let's just do it just to see what happens. Okay, so now I have hammered my spiral and let's take off the temporary wire. So in your kits, I am including the temporary wire and it's up to you if you use it or not. So you can see I just broke it. Why did it break? Well, because I hammered over it. So normally whenever I have any sort of an overlap in wire, I will not hammer it at all. But this time I literally did it just to show you what happens. And I don't know if you can see, there's a little added texture from the temporary wire. So can you guys see that? Does the camera pick it up? I'm hoping yes. If not, just take my word. And so now what we're going to do is introduce another wire gauge yet. And this is 26 gauge wire, which is definitely on the skinnier side of wire. In fact, I'm actually going to just move my bench block and my hammer because I'm not going to need it for a little bit. And we'll get our normal surface back. And so now I am going to introduce the 26 gauge wire and use a little tail, maybe like 2 inches, just whatever is comfortable to work with. So a little 2-inch tail to bind the circle, okay? So I am binding the outer spiral, the outer spiral to the one just on the inside of it. And I just went around twice, that's it. So now I am going to, if I want these petals about the same size, this is what we're making right now. If I want these petals roughly the same size, I'm going to measure. And normally, you know, I'm a winger, but not on this one. So this is what we're going to do. Actually, before I measure, I'm going to estimate just exactly where I'm going to place the petals. And I tell you, the hardest part of this project was just opening that Sharpie. Did you see that? So we are going to make 6 dots. So I'm essentially considering this right here a dot. So we're going for 6 petals, and wherever I have a dot, that is where I'm going to be anchoring the wire. And so I am dividing my circle into 6 equal parts. And you know, if you want to measure, that's fine. I'm just eyeing it right now. And pretty much any polishing cloth, if you have a sunshine cloth or if you have a Pro Pad cloth, any jewelry cloth will take care of those little spots, or maybe you have a different cleaner. So we're just not going to worry about that right now. Plus, this is eventually going to end up outside and be in the elements, so we're just not going to worry about those little Sharpie marks. Okay guys, so this is what I'm doing. I am using my 26 gauge wire to spiral, loosely spiral that is, spiral around the outer coil. And I'll tell you, so when I say loosely spiral, I'm going to say I have about 4 millimeters roughly between the coils. So I'm coiling, because you know, if we make it a tight coil, we're going to be here for the next 4 hours. And there's really no need for that. So I'm going around the outer spiral until I get very close to that first mark. Very close, but not right on the mark. Okay, and certainly not past the mark. So at this point, we're going to start making a petal. And how we'll make this petal is we're going to measure, and for the smaller flower, and I will give you all the dimensions as we make the larger flower as well. So this is for the smaller flower. I'm going to go just a little bit over 1.25 inches. So about 1.25. And I will make a bend, and I will give it, you know, very gentle squeeze with my flat nose pliers. And then we will actually fold the wire all the way, hold right next to the circle or the spiral. You see how my flat nose pliers are right next to the spiral. And now I'm going to bend the wire in the opposite direction. So once I bend it in the opposite direction, I'm going to stretch the petal, and don't worry, it doesn't look like a flower just yet, but we will be reshaping all of the petals so that it does. And now, as I spiral or coil around our circle, I'm also incorporating this U shape from our petals, right? So this is our petal wire, and I'm incorporating it into the coil. So I am making this so that it's holding, and it's not overlapping, but it is right next. The two sets of wire are right next to one another. I hope that the camera picks this up, and I will show this to you in just 1 second. And I'm going to go into that U shape twice. Okay, so 2 coils, and this is what it looks like. Okay, ladies, so now we take our skinny wire, also known as 26 gauge wire. And I don't know if you guys can tell just from watching me work with it. This is very soft. It's very, very pliable. When you do this type of a coiling project, you have to work with dead soft wire. And of course, because this is base metal wire rather than sterling, it's not going to be labeled. So it's very important to know the brands. And my preferred brand for this is, okay, I just need to move it over. So my preferred brand for this type of coiling is Artistic Wire, which we do have in the Etsy shop. And so now we are just heading to the next mark. So we made all those little marks. That's where we're going to be attaching our petals. And I'm almost there. And the best thing that we can do as we work on this is do not let your wire kink. So that is the best thing we can do, because it will likely want to kink occasionally. Okay, so now you remember we're again going to measure approximately 1 1/4 inches and make a bend. And now we're going to bring, so if you don't quite get a nice, not quite sharp, but I definitely want a pointy petal. So we're just going to give it a nice gentle squeeze again. So not a hard squeeze. And again, bring the wire so that it's parallel to the first half of the petal, and hold with your flat nose pliers. And again, we're going to bend. So we're just going to continue repeating this pattern until we have made all 6 petals. And then I will show you exactly how to shape them. The shaping part is very, very fun and easy. You're actually going to be amazed by how simple it is. Okay, so now, again, it takes 2, I suppose you could do 3, but for some reason I like 2. So 2 coils, and guess what we're going to do? We are just going to continue creating the same pattern. And I know sometimes I make one that is almost finished, and I actually did not do that this time. So we're just going to have to chat a little bit while I create the next 4 petals.
Yolanda says, good evening. I couldn't find and I wasn't alerted, but I'm here.
Hi, Yolanda. I'm so glad that you found us. That's wonderful. And I know sometimes Facebook does not let you know, but please know that this is what we do every Thursday on my Facebook page, which is where you are right now. Every Thursday at 7. It's fairly uncommon for us to have an exception. Oh, I'm in the wrong part of the spiral, so we only want to be wrapping around the very outer spiral. But the next time we will not have a video is of course going to be on the 4th of July. And generally, more often than not, we have a Thursday video at 7, and then we have a Friday video at 9 a.m. Central Standard Time. Okay, guys, so again, we're going to give it a gentle squeeze at the tip of the petal, and then we are going to hold the flat nose pliers very close to the circle and make the next bend. So we're always, it's like we're making a zigzag. So the bend is always going to be in the opposite direction. Okay, guys, and now we're going to be using the 26 gauge wire again to incorporate that next petal. And so this is just repetition at this point. So I'm making my 2 coils. And again, we're going to create, and when I say a loose coil, so I just want to make it very clear, it's not actually loose around, around the wire. In fact, I make it quite snug. I don't know if you guys can tell, I'm pulling slightly on the wire. I don't want any movement in the 26 gauge wire. I want it to be very tight around, very snug around the 16 gauge wire. However, there's room between the coils. And again, I'm leaving about 3-4 millimeters between the coils. Okay, so now we get to our next mark. And again, you already know what we're going to do. We're going to measure 1 1/4 millimeters and make a bend. And we bring the wire all the way to the circular part. And now we make a zigzag in the opposite direction and immediately stretch it out until it makes it to that next mark. Okay, guys, so it also helps to just hold on to the wire very close to where you're wrapping, just to kind of give it a little stability until it is made stable by the coiling. So just kind of hold, you see how I'm holding on to it with my thumb, so that's pretty helpful. And you know, I have some wonky zigzags in here for now, or not so much zigzags, but bends, and it doesn't bother me because I know that I can reshape the wire very shortly. Okay, guys, and next we are going to again make a bend. I think this one is a little longer. Maybe I'll make it a little tiny bit shorter. Okay, and
Ellie says this demo makes so much sense.
oh, yay, thank you so much, Ellie. You know what? I love feedback. I love validation because it makes sense to me from here, but I also want it to make sense to you guys. So thank you so much for letting me know that it does. Oh, and you know what? I forgot to coil up to the mark. Generally, I like to coil up to the mark first because otherwise the heavier wire can be a little bit in the way. So because I forgot to do the 26 gauge wire first, you see what I did? I just kind of moved the heavier wire out of the way. So I hope that part of it makes sense.
Allie says, I think that with time I could actually do this one.
Allie, you can do this today. Like literally, this is so very, very simple. Just rewatch the video as you do it. As you know, we archive all of our videos, and you can rewatch it like a million times if you want to. And I know you can do it. It's so simple, you guys. And just wait till you see the little trick I'm going to use to shape the petals. It's very fun. Okay, guys, so almost at the mark, just a couple more coils. And now we are at the mark. And now we're going to put our U shape right next to the circle and incorporate it into our shape. And again, it's always the two 16 gauge wires right here are side by side. I know sometimes it's a bit hard to see because it's all the same color, but they're side by side, they're not overlapping. So this is what it's looking like. It kind of looks like a star so far. And we have one more petal to go.
Allie says, yep, I watch your videos several times when I build one of your kits. So helpful.
Oh, yay. Thank you so much, Allie. Okay, guys. And so this is going to be our last petal. And again, we are just bending and making it parallel. And now we're going to bend it the opposite way. And again, I didn't spiral or coil around the circle wire, so I will just do it right now. And you saw I pushed this guy out of the way again. And you know what? You're probably going to forget occasionally too, which is kind of nice to see that, you know, it's not a big deal. It's certainly not the end of the world if you do forget. It's a very easy fix, you know. I love working with wire because it's just so very flexible. It's not a pattern. It's not like, oh my gosh, I made a mistake. Even if you do make a mistake, it's so, very often, it's so very easy to cover it up and just make it work.
Kim K says, so fun. To make it more sparkly, you could also wire wrap some beads or crystals in the petals.
You bet. Thank you so much, Kim. Yes, absolutely. You guys have seen some of my sun catchers, right? And it's so fun to incorporate a little color. So if you decide to embellish them, great. And you know, I always love it when you share your creations, especially if you change it a little bit. So feel free to share it on our Facebook page. That would be pretty awesome. Okay, ladies, so I am just about at the end. And so remember that first little and? We're going to have to do something with it. And I think I'm just going to wrap it around. What should we wrap it around? Oh, I know. I'm going to wrap it around this little piece of white, or actually right here, in between the coils. So essentially, you just wrap it around wherever you feel it will anchor best. It's not like it has to be anded in a very specific spot. You just and it wherever it feels right. So wrap it around a couple of times and cut off the excess wire. This is the very first tail that we started with. I haven't done anything with the working end.
Katie says, thank you so much for making these. I have some orphan beads waiting to embellish these once my kid arrives.
Oh, fantastic, Katie. That is wonderful. Thank you so much. Again, thank you so much for the suggestion. I think it's a wonderful suggestion. Okay, so I hid the little and. Again, wherever you can hide it is just fine. That's where it's supposed to be. Okay, so now we're going to put this little U into this corner, and we are going to incorporate that into our shape. So nice and snug. So as I am coiling, I am pulling on the wire, and you know what? Just so that I don't have this long wire end right here, I am going to snip off most of that. And don't worry, this is not just going to be sticking out. We will make a little very small loop with it so that it's nicely finished. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that right now, and then we will finish the coiling. So I am just using my chain nose pliers and bending it over, making a really small loop. So we'll squeeze the wire. And there's our small loop. And now we are going to cut off any excess wire that sticks out past this guy right here. And the important thing is to make it nice and flush so that it can lay right against this wire. And that's it. So now we just need to finish coiling and hide the end. So literally, wherever you have a little opening, wherever it looks like it's going to sit snugly, that is where we're going to put this 26 gauge wire through. And maybe one more time, I feel like I just want to make it really sturdy. And so I will just go through one more time. And you guys have made wrap loops before. You have made those organic wrap loops. So you know this is a very similar thing we're doing. We're just making everything hold. And once you are satisfied with this being pretty sturdy, I just cut off the wire end, and we are going to tuck it in so that no one can ever see where it ends and where it begins. And I'm using my chain nose pliers for that.
Yolanda says, what gauge are you using? I could just rewatch from the beginning.
Oh, thank you, Yolanda. Yeah, I think just go ahead and rewatch from the beginning, but in the meantime, I'm using 16 gauge wire for the frame. The heavier wire is 16 gauge, and the skinny wire is 26 gauge, but you could use a number of gauges. And in fact, for the larger flower, in fact, this is really the same exact shape. We're going to be using 14 gauge wire. Okay, ladies, so once you made it, all right, now prepare to be amazed. So look at this. All you have to do is just put your fingers in, pull the petals out, and it gives you this really nice shape. Now, if you want to, of course, you can do this with your pliers by simply bending it out this way and just like making little bends until you get there. But for me, it is just so very satisfying to shape the petals in this way. Isn't this fun? Okay, we have 2 more, you guys.
Yolanda says, thank you, so cute.
Oh, thank you so much, Yolanda. So now it's looking a lot more like a flower, isn't it? And 1 more, our last petal. Or you can use a combination of using your fingers and pliers, you know, whatever seems like the easiest thing to you. Okay, ta-da! So that is our decorative part of the banana feeder. And where's the banana feeder? Where did I put it? Okay, how can one lose something without ever getting
It's right here.
No, this is the, oh, that's right. It's the one that has the banana in it. All right, we're not even going to take the banana out. It's fine. It can stay in. And in the meantime, we're going to make a loop. Maybe I'll use my bail making pliers and just make a loop like that. And let's turn this loop like this so that we can attach it to the flower. And we're nearly done with this one. All we have to do is just make the hook, which I will show in just a little bit. Okay, ladies. So this is what it looks like. Ta-da! What do you think? Easy, right? Super, super easy. Okay, so in the meantime, how do we go from this flower to this flower? I will show you. So I'm not going to show you the entire thing. Oh, and by the way, you can hammer the petals just like I did the spiral. You know, you just need a bench block and a chasing hammer. You know how to do that. Okay, so in the meantime, how do we go from this flower to the larger flower with a little spike? And we'll eventually get to the hook. I'll do the hook. Okay, so but let's talk about how to do this guy. Very, very simple. So you remember how we made the spiral. Okay, so this time, instead of just starting with a loop, we're going to start by bending part of our wire. Maybe that's even a little bit too much. I'm going to say like right around 3/4 of I was going to say a millimeter, not 3/4 of a millimeter, 3/4 of an inch. So this is about 3/4 of an inch. Anywhere between 1/2 inch and 3/4 of an inch is fine. And before you do anything else, use the sandpaper you're getting in the kit. So there'll be a piece of sandpaper, and you just go over those edges of the wire and make it nice and rounded and smooth, and maybe a little pointy. So, you know, I'm not going to do that right now, but it's very, very simple. Okay, and then to start the actual spiral, we are going to use our chain nose pliers instead of our round nose pliers, and this is how you do it. So you simply shape it by holding with the chain nose pliers, just like that. And you can shape the wire simply by hand. And let's upright our little spike. And so just keep building the spiral. So this time, you remember how this little circle, we got to about 30 millimeters and we stopped. So, and we used approximately 10 inches of wire. So this is clearly a larger spiral. We're going to be using approximately 20 inches of wire, okay? And let's measure. So this is one of those things. Through the magic of Facebook Live, our piece is just about finished. So let's measure it. So this is 2.5 inches across. And again, it's going to take approximately 20 inches of wire. So, so you're just going to continue building the spiral until you get to your 2.5 inches. All right, so we're going to set this guy aside, and again, through the magic of Facebook Live, we have already made our entire flower. And just to have a little review, we're going to bend this last petal, and now we're going to incorporate it into our design. So one thing I want you to know, and I purposely left it unfinished, one thing is going to be different, and you might be seeing it already. So because I'm working with a much larger wire gauge this time, so this time I'm actually working with 20 gauge wire for my coiling wire. It didn't quite fit between the coils, so I'm just going to go around. Well, I guess I don't have a whole lot of an overlap, but if you can't go between the coils, you can go right over both coils sooner. I hope that made sense.
Katie S. is wondering, what length did you make the petals for the larger flower?
I'm so glad you asked, Katie. It's like you just literally read my mind. So the length of the petals on the larger flower are 2 inches, or is 2 inches. And so when you get your kits, please know that there's a little leeway. For example, if you end up working a little larger, it's okay. It will absolutely work out because you do have more wire than what I used. Okay, guys, so I think it's time to make that little loop. And so for the loop, I am cutting off most of my wire, whatever I have left. So I want you to know that I too started with 5 feet and I still have more than a foot left over. So if you use about 4 feet, this is what it gives you. Just, it's nice to know what kind of dimensions you're going to have. And I may need to cut off a little bit more wire yet because I'm trying to make a smaller loop. And here, we'll get this out of the way and make that loop so that the end of the loop is flush with this wire. Okay, so let's do something with these wire ends. Maybe I'll just go around the petal. And you know what? This is handmade, so if you can see where the wire ends, I don't think it's a terrible thing. And make sure you pinch in that end. So that's always my pet peeve, is when people don't finish their loops well and you have all sorts of sharp wire ends sticking out, and then it's a weapon. And we certainly don't want to hurt any little butterflies or birdies. So make sure, please, that you do use your chain nose to make thends ends flush. Okay, so you remember we're now going to stretch out all of our petals, And this time it's actually even easier, even though the wire gauge is quite a bit larger. But because the petals themselves are larger, it's so easy to just put your fingers right in. And just by pulling out like this, it's so very simple. Okay, ladies, so to curve our petals, you know, I actually, when I did it, I believe I used my bracelet making pliers, but I didn't grab my bracelet making pliers. So no worries. Maybe you have a bracelet making pliers, great, just use that. And if not, I'll show you how to do it without the bracelet making pliers. So first of all, let's create this kind of a depression. Let's make this spiral a little bit concave, because you know what I think I'm going to be doing is just putting half an orange into this. So I'm literally making room for half an orange. And then you can use your fingers or you can use your flat nose pliers and just make little tiny bends in the wire, just like this, and round out the petals like this so that they're pointing up.
Cheryl says, hi, I always love your wire kits and can't wait to try this one.
Hi, Cheryl. Oh, yay. Thank you so much. I'm so glad you're excited about this one. Okay, ladies, so, and you can see how incredibly easy it is to bend the wire. Now, I will say that if you do hammer the wire, it's not quite as easy, but it's still so easy. Okay, ladies, all right, now we have some finishing touches. So first of all, we need to hang this somehow, right? So we are going to create, I don't know, what do we call this part? A hanger, maybe? I don't know. And I feel like this twisted, so, oh, much better, much better. Okay, so what do we call this part? A bead, okay, we call it the beaded part. That's what we call it. Okay, so we are going to use a little soft flex wire, and for this we're actually, you know, in most of our jewelry projects we use soft flex wire that is 0.14, which is the small size, and for this one I'm actually using 0.19, which is the medium, because I want this to be super sturdy. Okay, so this is a quick reminder on how to crimp. So first, we put our crimp on our wire. Ta-da! That's our crimp. And then we are going to use a wire guardian and go through the other side of the wire guardian, making a little loop. So this is what it looks like as I'm going through. And now we push the crimp very close to the wire guardian, although we may want to leave just a little bit of room. Okay, guys, and now we have a crimper, and you guys, I'm sure most of you ladies have used the crimper. We have a bean-shaped opening and we have an oval opening. We use the bean-shaped opening first. We're going to line this up nicely and just give it a good squeeze, and then squeeze it with the remaining opening, which is the oval opening. And now we have just folded the crimp over, and we're going to cut off all of the excess wire. We don't need this anymore. And, you know, I suppose we don't really need to cover the crimp, but I like to cover my crimps. I really do. Because, you know, it just looks so much nicer. But crimp covers very often are not open enough to very easily slide over the crimp. So I like to open them by putting my chain nose pliers right into the crimp cover and slightly opening it this way. And now it should fits so easily. So let's go ahead and put it right over the crimp. You can see the crimp right inside. And then we're just going to give it a squeeze, ta-da. And so first we squeeze on the sides, and then we squeeze right next to the opening on one side, on the other side, and voila, we have just made a nice little round bead. And you have these cute little assorted 6OC beads. So it's an assortment of different colors, and we're just going to start stringing. I'm not going to string all of them right this moment. I'm just showing you that you can string right onto the soft flex wire, just like that. So keep going until you get to your desired length. So in the kit, you have 30 inches of soft flex wire. What I would do is just cut it into 3 equal pieces of 10 inches, and then it makes it very easy. And you can make 3. So obviously we're going to bead until we get to our desired length. In my case, my desired length is what, about 5 inches, I want to say. Yeah, 5 inches. So whatever you decide, you have more than enough beads. So you can make it 5 inches, you can make it 6 inches. The point is you make 3 equal lengths that are beaded and finished. So obviously we're going to finish each little beaded strap in the same way with a crimp cover, and a wire guardian. Okay, now let's do a little assembly. So we have these nice heavy jump rings, and we're going to open all 4 of them. So these are nice and heavy, they're copper, and they're going to go really well with the rest of our project. And I'm just using a flat nose and a chain nose to open them. And you always open them just like this to the side. So we are going to connect our beaded strap, and we are going to attach them to every other petal. So we only have 3 straps, so, and that's really all we need. So we're going to attach it to every other petal, and we just go through the wire guardian, and it's always a good thing to overlap the jump ring slightly and then just kind of force it, and you can hear that nice click. That is because I'm forcing it, so that there's no gap whatsoever between the 2 sides of the jump ring. And this is my last one. So we're going to close this one. And now we're going to gather all of the beaded straps, just like that, at the top, and go through them with a single jump ring. Ta-da! So let's close the jump ring, and you know, I'm just thinking about making those hooks because that is what we're doing next. And I was going to grab my jumbo bail making pliers, but I think I forgot to grab my jumbo bail making pliers. But no worries, because in this room I do have a couple of mandrels, so we'll just use a mandrel. And maybe you have a mandrel like this, or a plastic mandrel, or a bail making pliers, you know, the jumbo one, because this is the hook we're going to make. So this is literally just like making a clasp, a handmade clasp, or like making an ear wire. It's very similar. And that is what we're going to do to finish our project. All right, so I have my wire remnants here. So here are my wire remnants. And I'm going to use the heavier 14 gauge wire. And first thing I'm going to do is make my large hook. So let's go ahead and wrap the wire around the bail. So you just pick a size that you like and wrap your wire just like that. Or if you don't have a mandrel, maybe you have something else that's rounded. Just, you know, improvise. Very often we have objects around the house that will just work. And now I'm going to make a 90-degree angle so that so I have a nice defined hook.
Allie says this is cute and gives me ideas for a larger plant holder.
Oh, fantastic! Yay! Oh, that makes me so happy. You know what, Allie? I want to see your plant holder. Okay, ladies. And I don't like this sharp end, so I am going to make another loop on this side. And this does not have to be a functional loop. So we can make it as small as we want. So I'm just going to make this a little smaller and give it a good squeeze to make it nice and flush. And this way it is not a weapon. And now we have to have a little decorative element on our hook. So we're going to string one of those, remember these ceramic beads that I showed not that long ago. And we are going to, I don't know, let's cut it right about at 1 inch. So this is about 1 inch I left. And I'm going to make another loop on this end. And yeah, 1 inch worked out quite nicely. Let's open this up. And this hook, by the way, ladies, is designed for both. So I'm only going to demo it just the one time. So this is what it looks like. What do you guys think? So this is the whole thing. And, but wait, we have to, wait a minute. So gravity in this case is our friend if we push these to the petals. So this is how it's going to be hanging.
Allie says so great.
Yay, thank you so much, Ellie. So let's see it in action. Well, I can't really quite see it in action because I don't have a butterfly or a bird right here next to me. Okay, so Tony's going to reenact a butterfly. Oh, what a beautiful butterfly. You have to use your imagination. Oh, and look at the proboscis on the butterfly. Oh my goodness. Okay. I hope you guys found it a little entertaining. Okay, so this is it. This is how you make this feeder. And to finish the banana one, all you have to do, well, you know what, just for the purposes of this demo, we're going to steal the hook from the other sample that is already made, and we're going to pretend like we just made this hook. Oh my goodness, and look, through the magic of Facebook Live, we just made this hook, and we're going to connect it to the other feeder.
Allie says so great, and Trudy says awesome.
Yay, thank you so much.
Fonda says love, love, love this adorable project.
Oh my gosh, thank you so much for all the loves. You guys, you're so sweet and you're so good to me and you're so encouraging. I love it.
Katie says love it, and Yolanda says something fun to try, cute project, and she says LOL, perfect.
Oh, yay.
The butterfly that flew in.
Oh, you were amused by the butterfly? So I'm sure your butterflies in your yard are going to be even more beautiful. So here, I have to hold it like this so you can see.
I would hope so.
The entire thing. Well, yes. So hopefully and I am going to hang these in my yard. I will be giving you guys updates on who comes to the feeder.
I'm really hoping that the Orioles like this feeder as well, because the Orioles, they're just so magical. They're so vibrant.
Althea says this will be so much fun.
Yay! Thank you so much, Althea. Okay, you guys. All right, we had fun making these. Now, I'm going to give you a little preview about what is coming up. So let's get situated here, and I'll show you what's coming up. Ta-da! I'm just going to leave these here. And so tomorrow, oh yes, so just a quick reminder, this kit does make 2 feeders. We did not put the diagrams in this time just because it's so time consuming, you guys. So all of your measurements are in this video. So just in case, if you missed anything, you can always go back and rewatch everything. All the measurements are in the video, but just for fun, you will, I'm just going to tell you about the measurements once more. So the 3.5 foot length of 14 gauge wire makes the banana holder. The 5 foot length of 14 gauge wire makes this flower right here. The only length that you have in the kit of 16 gauge wire is going to make this flower right here. You use the very skinny 26 gauge for the small flower, for the coiling that is. You use the 20 gauge for the coiling on the larger flower. And finally, the petals. On the smaller flower, I started out with 1.25 inches for one way and the other way, and 2 inches for the larger flower. What else? The spiral on the smaller flower, again, is 1.25 inches or 30 millimeters, and the spiral on the larger flower is 2.5 inches. So that is all the dimensions. So that should be helpful, I'm hoping. And now the preview. Okay, ladies. So tomorrow I have a super exciting Facebook Live shopping event. In fact, one of the ladies who actually, she's a store customer, she has never seen the videos, and she got so excited about the vintage, oh my gosh. And because she was excited about seeing my stash, and this is a part of my stash, you guys. So this is probably the most exciting thing that I'm showing tomorrow. Although there are many exciting things. So tomorrow, a good chunk of tomorrow's video is about the amazing vintage finds. So really fabulous vintage glass. These are over 100 years old. And we're also going to do some gemstone pendants. Last week I was lamenting the fact that we didn't have bales, so this week I have bales for what you purchased last week. So I'm hoping you got some of your treasures so you can plan on the bales. And of course, this is going to be a super fun time. Okay, guys, but wait, there's more. There's always just a little more. So next Thursday, I'm going to be making the turquoise mountain necklace. This I called turquoise mountain. I don't know if it's laying correctly or not. I may have to grab some type of necklace display next time. Okay, guys, so this is all supposed to hang in one direction. So let's fix it. Okay. It doesn't want to cooperate for some reason. Okay, ta-da. This is how it hangs. And so this is turquoise mountain. I may just have to model it because it looks so much better on, unfortunately, I totally have the wrong shirt for it. There's just too much going on. So anyway, this is what we're making
Thursday, June 20th at 7 p.m. Central Standard Time on my jewelry design page. And just so that you can see the full, yeah, it's really supposed to be about that long, ladies. But again, it just gets really lost on my shirt. So Tony's like, no, don't model it. Your shirt is so busy, it will get lost. So here it is. It looks so much better on my surface. You can really get an idea from this one. So it's a 2-strand necklace, and I promise when I actually demo this, I will wear something that is a solid color and it goes beautifully with this.
Althea says can't wait until next week's necklace.
Oh yay, thank you so much. I'm so glad you're excited about it.
Cheryl says stunning.
Yay, thank you so much. Thank you,
Fonda
Cheryl.
says beautiful.
Thank you so much, ladies. Okay, guys. So again, please join me tomorrow for some wonderful vintage. I'm so excited, especially now. And if you're watching tomorrow, I hope you get as excited as I am. I know you will love it. And of course, all of you, I hope you will love tomorrow's video. And I guess we have a comment. Or?
Sorry, Kim K says thanks so much for sharing these fun projects. See you in the morning and have a good night, everyone.
Thank you so much, Kim. And everyone have a wonderful night. And as always, create some fun pieces. Have fun.